Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to my weekend live. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please share and comment and subscribe. And also write some comments so I know that you are watching my weekly lives. My name is Francisca Epale. I am a certified health and life coach, a former educator who has taught ESL, English as a second language, and French for over 20 years in the United States, in Canada, and China, from middle school to university levels. I'm an author of 4 books. I am a real estate investor, and I am also a wealth creator with the MAP book, the Mind Assistance Program. Today I'm going to talk about the dreaded D word, to blame or not to blame. The D word I'm talking about is divorce. We just heard in the news on Wednesday that our Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, and his wife, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, are separating. Ironically and interestingly, his father, Pierre Trudeau, also divorced his wife, Margaret, while he was in office. So today I'm going to talk about some of the causes of divorce. And the fact that somebody is divorced does not make them a bad person. So a word of caution: if you have a friend, an acquaintance, a family member who is divorced, do not make fun of them. I know of a lady who is divorced and 3 of her friends made fun of her, and guess what? Those 3 friends are divorced today. So these are some of the reasons for divorce, and if you could come up with other reasons, please put them in the comments below. The first reason is incompatibility. You are not compatible with your partner. There are some cultures when a woman reaches a certain age, the parents start to put stress on the daughter. When are you going to get married? Like, I was in China from October 2014 to October 2015. The Chinese told me that when a girl reaches the age of 27, in China, they are regarded as stale. Wow. So some parents are putting pressure on their daughters. When are you going to get married? All my friends' daughters are married, and now you're not yet married. So you're putting pressure on the daughter, and the daughter might go and pick and choose the wrong man. So that's the first cause of divorce, is incompatibility. You are not compatible with each other. The second reason for divorce is inability to have children. There are some couples who cannot have children. Sometimes it's the wife's fault and sometimes it's the man's fault. In some cultures, when you cannot have a child, they blame the woman. The woman, sometimes she cannot have children because of her age, or maybe illness, or too many abortions, or uterine fibroids. Depending on the age of the woman and the size of the fibroids, it could cause a woman not to have children. Sometimes they even have surgery, and sometimes the fibroids, they grow back. When a couple cannot have children, they also test the man, because sometimes the man, he may have low sperm count as well. So that's another reason for divorce. But if you don't have children, you can think of adoption. But some people do not believe in adoption. I know of a man whose wife, he could not have any children, and the wife said, why don't we adopt? He said, no, I want the real stuff. When you adopt, you don't know what you're going to get. Even when you have your own child, you don't know what kind of child you're going to get. So the third cause of divorce is in-laws. It's a known fact that many in-laws, they don't get along. Sometimes they're nice, or they're cruel. If your mother-in-law does not like you, you're doomed. So try to make your mother-in-law like you. Find out her likes, her dislikes, her favorite meal, her birthday, her wedding anniversary. Shower your mother your mother-in-law with gifts and attention so that she will like you. So some in-laws don't get along, and that's the reason for divorce. I know of somebody who had a conflict with her brother-in-law, and he told her, I will do whatever it takes to break your marriage. And guess what? The marriage did fall apart. So in-laws is another reason for divorce. The fourth reason I can think of is immigration. I know of a man, whose children were born in America, and the man says he wants to return to his home country, which is a third world country. So the wife said, no, our children were born in America. They're not going to go backwards. Every generation should be better than the previous one. So because the wife refused to return to the man's third world country, it led to a divorce. So the fifth reason for divorce, it could be a change of occupation. By this, I'll give an example. I know of somebody who was a lawyer and told his wife that he has a calling to become a pastor. So the wife said, you're joking. He said, no, I'm not joking. The wife said, I do not want to be a pastor's wife. And the husband said, why? Because when you are a pastor's wife, they start to call you first lady, and they watch whatever you wear. They criticize you on what you say and what you don't say, on what you do and what you don't do. So you are under strict scrutiny. So she says, I do not feel comfortable becoming a pastor's wife. And then the man said, when you are a pastor's wife, it's a lot of blessings. She said that I can get blessings from other sources. So because of that, her husband changed occupation from a lawyer to a pastor. It led to a divorce. A sixth reason for the cause of divorce, it could be religion. There are some women, it's a known fact that when you enter any church, there are more women than men. There are some women who are very religious, more religious than their husbands. Now, in some churches, they have like church events that are the whole week, or church crusades, and you are in church. If you are a married woman and your husband is not a church goer, do not go to church every single evening for a church crusade and leave your husband at home if he has a 9-to-5 job. It's not fair. Go at least 2 or 3 times a week. You compromise. All right? It's a different ball game if your husband is a Christian or a Muslim and you go to church events together. But be careful. It's good to go to church, but if you are married and your husband is not a church goer, do not go every day. Otherwise, you might lose him. It could end up in a divorce. And also, one has to be very careful. Another reason for divorce is selfishness. There are some couples that are very selfish. I'll give you an example. I know of somebody whose child was sick, and the child had to stay home for 2 days. So she told her husband, since the child has to stay home for 2 days, I will stay home 1 day and you can stay home the other day. He said, no, you are the woman. You should stay home both days. And it brought argument. So that's selfishness on the man's part. So little things like that, if it continues and you're always selfish and you want things your own way and you don't want to compromise, it could lead to a divorce. The 8th cause of divorce is finances. Not having enough money, or the woman overspending with the credit card, just going out and shopping and shopping and shopping. For instance, I heard that during the pandemic, when we had the COVID-19, 2 things that happened to people. They either ended up in the maternity ward or they ended up in the divorce courts. So finances, if you're struggling with your finances, sometimes it could lead to divorce. And there are times when a man, the wife or the husband, they lose their job, then things are hard. If somebody loses their job, you should not divorce them. It's a temporary thing because you never know tomorrow. They could get a better job, so you have to be patient. Okay. The ninth reason I came up for divorce is poor communication. Some people do not know how to communicate. If you want things to be clear, to always clear the air, communicate very well with your spouse. And I suggest once a week you should have a meeting. Okay, you go out on a date once a week and you have a meeting once a week to discuss the marriage. And said, from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how would you rate our marriage for this week? And if the spouse said 7, then you can ask him or her, what would it take to make it a 10? Have meetings to discuss your relationship. Communicate. Communication is key. A 10th reason I could think of the cause of divorce is illness. There are some people, when your spouse becomes ill, they divorce them. I know of somebody who had cancer, and the person was deteriorating, and the spouse found another person, knowing that the wife might die. But guess what? He divorced the wife. He said, I can no longer continue. You're too ill. I can't handle this. But when you were reciting your vows, it said, for better or for worse, in illness or in death, But people forget the vows that they recited. So this man divorced his wife who had cancer and had a side chick. And that woman, determined to get better, she was eating better, she was exercising, and miraculously, she survived. Then 3 months later, she saw her ex-husband in a wheelchair. And she said, Dan, is that you? She said, yes. What happened? He said, oh, Hazel, you won't believe this. The girlfriend that I had, she left me, and he now has an illness, the big C. So he said, oh, I'm so sorry I left you. Do you think you can give me a second chance? She said, sorry, no thanks. I've moved on. So you see, he divorced her, and now he had the same illness the wife had. So another cause for divorce is weight gain. There are some women, after having children or after having been married for long, they gain weight. And the husband is saying, oh my God, you're so fat. You're so fat. Look at your tummy. As if the husband himself is not gaining weight. Most people, when they marry, they're very skinny. And as the years progress, they gain weight. So I've heard of some men who said, if you don't lose this weight, I'm going to divorce you. You're so fat. You're so chubby. You're not attractive anymore. That could be a reason. Number 12. A 12th reason that could lead to divorce is poor hygiene. As a man and a woman, make sure you take at least 2 showers a day. And a woman, you go and do your hair. You put on perfume, smell good. There are some women, before they marry, they're always so stylishly dressed. And once they get married, they just let themselves loose. Look decent. Go to bed with sexy lingerie. Don't go with a big t-shirt. Look sexy for your husband and vice versa. Okay? Clean yourself, Put powder and perfume. Okay? So, a 13th reason I could think of the cause of divorce is different educational levels. Sometimes a wife might only have a high school diploma and the husband has a master's degree. That should not deter you. I know of somebody who had a PhD and the wife only had high school, and he was telling somebody, I like this girl so much, but she only has high school and I have a PhD. The person said, why don't you put her through school? He said, that's a good idea. The last time I checked, his wife now has a PharmD, a PhD in pharmacy. So you see, you can put the person through school. So sometimes when you're not of the same educational level, you don't think the same, your communication skills are not always the same. So sometimes that could lead to a divorce. The 14th reason it could cause a divorce is race. Some people marry from different races. When you marry from a different race, it's very, very hard. If you have somebody from the same race, it's hard. How much more a different race? So the culture is different, the lifestyle is different. Some people cannot handle it because it's two different races. But some people it works, for some it doesn't. Then, the 15th reason I could think of is they are not satisfied in the bedroom. Some people say that, oh, she doesn't know how to do it well. I have heard of men who have been with about 20 women before they marry, and the woman has never been with a man before. How do you expect her to perform when she's innocent, she's green? You have to teach her. Show her how to do it. Okay? You don't have to divorce her because she doesn't know how to do it. With time, she will improve. So you can teach each other. So the 16th reason I could think of for divorce is not knowing each other's love language. There are 5 love languages. The first one is words of affirmation. The second one is quality time. The third one is physical touch. The fourth is acts of service. And the fifth is receiving gifts. Know each other's love language. If you don't understand the love language of your spouse, it might lead to divorce. So these are some of the reasons I think are the reasons of divorce. I have come up with 16 reasons. If you have any other reasons, please jot them down in the comments below. Again, I will repeat, if somebody is divorced, do not make fun of them because it could happen to you. You should empathize with them and sympathize. I cannot blame anybody if they're divorced because the best of people have gone through divorce. More than 50% of the population, they end up in divorce. So another way to prevent divorce, you can go for counseling. I know of a friend who has been married for 25 years until her husband passed away. She told me that the reason why she stayed married so long because there was a list of 10 things that the pastor gave them during their premarital counseling. He said if you follow those 10 things, you will stay married. And that's what she did. Sorry, this video is a little bit too long. Thank you very much for listening. Tomorrow I'll talk about the magic of personality tests. Have a good morning, have a good afternoon, and have a good evening. Bye for now.